Right, well, today we're going to be doing something very boring. We're going to try to do it efficiently. Here we have a bunch of master movies that I brought in that are all in English, and we needed to have the voice redubbed in Spanish. So we sent it off to a company that delivered us these Spanish audio files as AIFF, and they match up. So we're going to lay the audio in over top of the master. But we have these graphics. So the company also sent me Word documents with translations of these graphics that I need to change. And there's also some irregularity to the graphics because in some places they have this thing going on here. And I could try to do some mats and try to keep everything the way it was, but the client doesn't require that for the Spanish version. They're fine with full screen graphics. So here we go. Let's go ahead and you can see in the project's Spanish event here. Oh, I should mention before we jump in that when you're doing stuff like this, where you have two different languages, it's really good to be organized because you'll get lost easily. So I make different events. I can go ahead and bring this master movie in. I want to then lay in the Spanish audio for the video that matches that title. Also important that you title everything really well before you send it off to the vendor that's going to make the transcriptions because you want everything to match perfectly. In this case, we have DIEP NTRAM. So I'll go ahead and bring that in and make sure that lines up, and it does. Now we have English audio and Spanish audio playing at the same time. So that's no good. I'll bring the English audio down all the way to minus 22 dB.
Piernas dobladas. Eleve los brazos hasta la altura de los hombros. Si siente tirantes, mantenga esta posición por 5 segundos y luego.
Okay, I like that.
Eleve los brazos hasta la altura de los hombros.
And now I'm going to actually detach the English audio so it'll fall down underneath of the Spanish audio. So here's my Spanish audio. Here is my English audio. For replacing the graphics, I'm going to go ahead and range them all out. I'm going to use the range selection tool here, or R is the shortcut. And I'm going to find them here in the master movie. I'm going to arrange them. And is in backgrounds. I like Glimmer for this project because it matches this blue background fairly well. So I'm going to highlight it and select Q, which will do a connect edit right over top of my range selection. And I'll do that everywhere that there is a graphic. So I can scroll through pretty quickly. One of the great advantages of Final Cut 10. Highlight this. And Q. And eventually I'm actually going to overwrite these to the primary storyline. But for right now, I don't want to do that because I'm going to want to cheat every now and then and look underneath of these new graphics to see the old graphics. And I can do that just by scrubbing over here. I can cheat and look under. And then I can also build my new graphics over top. Now let's bring up our Word document that tells us what the new ones should say. Open that up. Here it is. And so the first one, range of motion exercises, abdominal stretch, that's here, is this. So I'm going to use custom text. I'm going to line that up. And I'll go ahead and bring up my inspector, paste that in. And I'm going to format it like this. I want to go, let's see, Helvetica New for everything. I'm going to make this thin, and I'm going to make this light, and actually I want this to be thin italic. Very good. And I want this to be larger since it's a main heading, and I want it completely centered vertically and horizontally. This needs to be action safe and title safe. There, I like that. Now, I also want it to fade in all at once. So in opacity should be 0, and the sequencing unit size should be all. That way it fades in. And then on the way out, the out opacity should go all the way out to 0. And again, I want that to go all. So it fades out as well. Real simple. Now, let me check one of my previous projects in which I already made these. And see here, I like that. It's just a little bit smaller, and I like that better. I could have copied and pasted, but I wanted you to see how I built this. So I like this one a little better. It's a little smaller. Let me go back. There, I'm happier with that. Those match pretty good. I'll go ahead and just copy and paste this over here for our second graphic. Okay. The second one, this first line is the same, but this little bit here changes. So I only need to change the bottom line. Okay. And then our next one. Again, I only need to change the bottom line. Copy. Paste. That's it. Now audio, I'm going to, as I said, I'm going to use my range selection tool and grab the English audio, which is unnecessary when you don't see the person's lips moving, and use my range selection tool to do this, bring it all the way down so you won't hear the English audio at all until you see her lips moving. Now you hear it a little bit. So I'll do that underneath of all the graphics by using my range selection tool. And with snapping on, it's really easy because it sees the beginning and the end of that clip up there. And it allows me to very quickly highlight those areas. Then I'll also scroll through the master to see if there are any spots where you don't see her lips moving, if there's any B-roll or anything where we would want to cut out that English audio. And no, her lips are moving in all those areas except during the graphics. So now I like to highlight these sections of glimmer. I mentioned before that I had them up here as connected clips so that I could very quickly scrub through underneath and see the English. So I could check it, but now that I see that it's the way I want it to be, I would prefer, just for organization's sake, to overwrite these to the primary storyline or command option down arrow, because it's tidier, and it also allows me to, if I wanted to create transitions much easier. I'm not going to do that. If I were, I would actually prefer to make this into a compound clip and then make those transitions so that the text and the background are merged together into one compound clip, making the transitions less unpredictable, or more predictable, I should say. But in this case, I actually like the cuts to the background and the fade up of the text, which is a little blocky because I have this set to better performance as opposed to better quality. That's what it'll look like.